Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will discuss about data link control. In short, we are calling data link control as DLC. So mainly, we will discuss about DLC services, data link layer protocols, then HDLC, that is high level data link control, and then PPP protocol, that is point to point protocol. So basically, if I talk about DLC services, so data link control deals with procedure for communication between two adjacent nodes, and the communication way of communication can be dedicated one or broadcast one. Data link control functions include framing and flow and error control. So basically you need to remember this thing, that data link control is for framing and flow and error control. So in this section mainly we will discuss about framing and flow and error control. So data link layer need to pack bits into frames so that each frame is distinguishable from one another. And this framing is similar to our postal services. So basically we have data from network layer to data link layer, and at data link layer we are doing framing by adding header and trailer to this one and sending it to physical layer. So the simple act of inserting a letter into an envelope that we are doing in postal services, which separates one piece of information from another piece. So envelope will serve as a delimiter. So from framing is a data link layer function. So basically framing separates a message from one source for one source to one destination by adding a sender address and destination address. The destination address defines where the packet is going to, and the sender address help the recipient to acknowledge the receipt. So framing, the first thing in framing we will discuss is character oriented protocol. So basically in this frame you can see that header is there, trailer is there, and both side flags are there. And this is the data from the network layer. So data from the upper layer is there. So variable number of characters are there in this data. So in character oriented framing, we need to remember one thing, that these flags, this flags will initiate the frame. So after receiving the flag, we can say that after this the header is there, and then after header our data is there, and at last flag will be there which will end this whole frame. So if somehow we are receiving flag in between flag bits, the bits which are similar in flag, and we are receiving the similar bits in our data, so what it will do, it will start that frame and it will end that frame here somewhere in our data. And one escape is also there. If it is there, so it will escape the whole data after this one. Okay, so we don't want these type of things. So basically we are doing stuffing and unstuffing whenever we are framing in data link layer. So stuffing is basically whenever you are having flag bit sequence which is similar to flag one. Okay, so basically you need to stuff an escape bit before that flag. And similarly, if you have escape bit, you need to substitute another escape bit before that escape, so that data link layer, by stuffing these things in data link layer, it can be easily identified that we need not to end our frame here. Okay, we need to escape this flag and we need to treat this flag as a data one. The similar thing is with ESC also. This process is known as stuffing. Okay, so we have stuffed two extra byte, and the same thing we will do in receiver side also. So basically these flags are known to transmitter side and receiver side. That's why saying that whenever you are stuffing in your data packet, so you need to do the same stuffing and destuffing or unstuffing at the receiver side also. So if you do unstuffing at the receiver side, you will get the same data sequence. So this will happen in byte stuffing and unstuffing case. Now this is character oriented protocol. Now we will see bit oriented protocol. So in bit oriented protocol, suppose this is our flag bit. So 8 bit are there. The first one is 0 and last one is 0 and remaining 7, remaining 6 ones are there. So the same format will be there in this data also. Okay, if I say these are all in binary sequence, so in bit oriented protocol, actually we are stuffing some bit in this data depending upon how many ones we are receiving. So whenever we are receiving any continuous number of ones, that is, suppose this is our data. So if I am receiving continuous number of 5 ones, so before that 6 ones, I am stuffing 1 0. Okay. In other words, you can say that after 0, whenever you are getting 5 number of continuous ones, so after 5 number of continuous one, you need to stuff 0. Okay. And here also you can see that after this 0, you are having 5 number of continuous one. That's why you are stuffing 0 here. So in this case, 2 extra bits you have added. Depending upon the case of number of 1, if they are 5 in a sequence, you need to separate them. The same thing is known to receiver also, and removing of this bit, 2 extra bit, in this case is known as unstuffing. So after unstuffing, you will get the same data, whatever you are receiving from the upper layer. Okay, so here you are receiving from the upper layer, that is network layer, and after transmission at the receiver side, after unstuffing, you are sending that data to upper layer. So one of the responsibilities of data link control sublayer is flow and error control at the data link layer. So flow and error control, basically at the sending node we are having some producer that will produce some data, and at the receiving node we are having one consumer, and after receiving data at the producer, data link layer is converted into frames, and that frames are pushed to link and received by consumer, and this consumer will need to process or will need to process that frame, and again after processing that frame it need to transfer that data to network layer. So there must be a synchronization between this producer and this consumer. Synchronization you can say in two way, that if this flow of data is more, like pushing of frames by this producer, the rate of pushing of frames are more than the processing at the consumer end, then most of the data will be discarded or most of the frames will be discarded by this consumer. So that's why, to efficiently utilize this technique at the producer end also and at the consumer end also, we need flow control at the data link layer. And basically this consumer is replying a flow control that is in other ways known as acknowledgement. And depending upon this flow control only, this producer will push its frame towards this consumer. A DLC protocol can be either connectionless or connection oriented, and we will see this issue very briefly here. And we will return to this topic in network and transport layer section. So now we will see various protocols of data link layer. So traditionally 4 protocols have been defined for the data link layer to deal with flow and error control. So the first protocol is simple. Second protocol is stop and wait. Third protocol is go back and fourth protocol is selective repeat. Although the first two protocols still are used at the data link layer, the last two have disappeared. We therefore briefly discuss about the first two protocol, that is simple and stop and wait. So you already know that in finite state machine, basically from state 1 to state 2, you need to perform some actions. Okay, in this case, you are performing action 1 and action 2. And at stage 2, another action is already performing, that is action 3. And state 2 need to give some feedback to state 1, that is this event 3. So this type of scenario is there when your data is communicated from transmitter to receiver. So at the transmitter side, your data will be collected from the network layer, it will be framed, and then it will be pushed towards the receiving side. At the receiving side, your data will get processed and then it will send to the network layer of receivers. And one acknowledgement will be sent to the sender side so that it can push another frame towards the receiver. So our first protocol is the simple protocol with neither flow nor error control. So in this simple protocol, we assume that the receiver can immediately handle any frame it receives. In other words, the receiver can never be overblamed with incoming frames. Okay, the same thing we have seen previously also. We are supposing that whatever transmitter is transmitting and whatever receiver is receiving, and they are in a synchronous manner, and receiver can easily be able to process whatever received by the from the channel, and there will be no queue or no discarding of date frame at the receiver side. So a simple protocol we can see in this block diagram, that network layer having some data, that data is sent to data link layer, and at data link layer it forms some frame, and that frame will be pushed through some link to the receiver side, and at the receiver side this is processing and retrieving data from that frame and transferring that data to network layer. And all this process is in a synchronous way, and no discard of frame will be there at the receiver side. So this will be a simple protocol. So if we say what will happen at the sending node, so sending node packet will come from the network layer, and data link control or data link layer will make frame and send it. At the receiving end, frame will arrive, it will process in data link layer and deliver the packet to network layer. So these things will be there in a synchronous manner in simple protocol. Okay, so now with the help of this figure, we saw an example of communication using this protocol, and it is very simple. The sender sends frame one after another without even thinking about the receiver. So this is our sender side. So this is network layer, this is data link layer, and this is the receiver side. This is data link layer, and this is the network layer. And we will talk with respect to time. So the first thing will happen that the network layer sends some packet to data link layer. Data link layer will create frame and send it to the receiver or push it to the receiver side. After getting that packet, it will process, this receiver will process and retrieve packet from that frame, and the same process will start again at the network side of the sender. And you can see here that this time is ending here, and after this time only the next process is starting, so that this receiver end will not be overburdened, and these two will be easily be there in synchronized mode. So in this case, you are seeing that no acknowledgement is there from the receiving side, and the same process will repeat. The packet will get transferred to data link layer. Frame will be created in data link layer. Frame will be pushed into the link towards receiver side, and receiver will extract packet from that frame. After simple protocol, we will discuss about stop and wait protocol. So which uses both flow and error control. Previously, we haven't used any flow or error control in a simple protocol. So in this protocol, the sender sends one frame at a time and wait for an acknowledgement before sending the next one. So this is very important. The sender will send only one frame and waits for acknowledgement. Okay, suppose if the acknowledgement is not received, then after timeout only it will resend that frame. Okay, so that is called, this protocol is known as stop and wait protocol. So to detect corrupted frame, we need to add cyclic redundancy check CRC, which we have seen in the previous lecture, to each data frame. So now we will see using block diagram how this stop and wait protocol is working. So basically, in this block diagram, your data is there at the network layer. Data will be transferred to data link layer, and at data link layer, frame will be created. And during the creation of frames, CRC will get added to those frames. Okay, so after completion of frame with CRC, this get pushed into the network. So this is your frame. It get received by receiver end, and after processing, data get extracted from there, and this is your data. And after data extraction, it will create an acknowledgement again with the CRC. This acknowledgement, when will be sent back and received by the sender end for completion of transmission of this frame from here to here. Okay, this is the whole process. Okay, and when it is sending, a timer will be there, so this timer will run. Okay, if suppose your message will not, or your frame will not be delivered, or something happen, so due to this timer, it will, this sender will resend frame, and we will see this case later on. So let's take what will happen and what are the procedures. So the first thing is, after starting, so packet came from network layer. So at data link layer, make a frame, save a copy, and send the frame and start the timer. So at the receiver time, at the sender side only, if the timeout will happen, it will resend the saved frame and restart the timer. Okay. If acknowledgement is arrived, it will stop the timer and discard the saved frame at the center side. If the acknowledgement is not received or corrupted is acknowledgement received, then it will discard the acknowledgement. Okay, so this is the process which will happen in stop and wait protocol. At the receiver side, so there may be two cases that corrupted frame arrived. So basically receiver will discard that frame. If error-free frame will arrive, it will extract and deliver the packet to network layer and send acknowledgement. This acknowledgement case we have already seen in at the sender side. So now we will take one example of sender and receiver side, and we will see three cases. In the first case, the frame is sent and we will get acknowledgement successfully. In the second case, the frame is sent but lost, and after timeout, the sender will resend that frame. Okay, so let's see those two cases first. Okay, so this is the first case where your packet will transferred from network to data link layer. At the data link layer, frame is created and it will send that frame and start this counter. Here at the receiver side, frame get received and packet got extracted from that frame. It will send an acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is received at sender side. So this is the first case without any fault. In the second case, the packet is received at the data link layer create frame and send it. Okay, it is saving a copy of that frame to that data link layer also. When it is sending that frame, it is starting timer. So that frame is lost somewhere. So after timeout, what it will do, it will resend that frame, the saved copy of that frame. And suppose this resent frame got received at the receiver and data link layer. So data link layer will extract packet from it and reply an acknowledgement. So this acknowledgement will be received here. So this is the second case. Now let's take consideration of the third case. So the third case is the third frame is sent and acknowledged, but the acknowledgement is lost. So what it will do, the center will resend that packet. Okay, but due to this acknowledgement lost, what happened is already the receiver received that the previous frame. Okay, but the sender doesn't know that whether the receiver received that one or not, and the sender resend that frame. So this is one problem where the receiver is receiving multiple copies of that proper frame. Okay, so we will see how we can remove this problem. So this problem will come. Okay, so packet got framed in data link layer. This frame is sent. Receiver side, this frame is received and already processed. Okay, packet got extracted from that frame, and it sended one acknowledgement, but this acknowledgement got lost somewhere. So this sender node doesn't know that whether it is received or not. Okay, so what it will do after timeout, it will resend that saved frame. Okay, so it will resend, and the receiver end will again extract data from there. So here in this case, what is happening is you are getting a duplicate frame, right? Duplicate data or duplicate packets. Previously you have received that packet, now you are receiving a duplicate of that one. And that this time I'm assuming that acknowledgement is received. Okay. If this acknowledgement again failed in this case, again third transmission will be there of the same frame. Okay. So in this case, you are seeing that if acknowledgement got lost, the packet multiple number of packet are there at the receiver side. So now we will see how we can remove this problem. So by adding sequence number and acknowledgement number, we can prevent the duplicate receiving of packets or duplicate receiving of frames. So we will see three cases. The first case where first frame is sent and acknowledged means successful transmission is there. The second frame is sent but lost. After timeout, it is resent. Okay, these are similar to the previous one. The third frame is sent and acknowledged, but the acknowledgement is lost. The frame is resent. Okay, we will see the previous three cases again using the same timing diagram. So these are the cases. Now we have attached frame number and acknowledgement number, or the sequence number or acknowledgement number. So here this first frame is sent and acknowledgement is received. The second frame is sent and somewhere lost. The same frame is resent after timeout and acknowledgement is received. Okay. Now consider this case. Frame 0 is sent, acknowledgement 1 is not received, somewhere lost. Okay. So same frame 0 again sent. Okay. So now we are seeing that here we have numbered this. Okay. So due to numbering, this receiver side data link layer will identify that frame 0 is duplicate 1. So frame 0 is discarded because the receiver is expecting frame 1 means the next frame. After 0, the next frame is 1. So after 0, it is expecting a next frame, that is frame 1. So that's why by adding those numbers to the acknowledgement and frame side, we are preventing this duplicate receiving of frames. So till now we have seen two protocols, that is simple protocol and stop and wait protocol. So the two protocols we discussed in this chapter or in this section are designed for unidirectional communication, in which data is flowing only in one direction and the acknowledgement is traveling in the other direction. So protocols have been designed in the past to allow data to flow in both the directions. However, to make communication more efficient, the data in one direction is piggybacked with the acknowledgement in the other direction. Under the heading of Data Link Control, that is DLC, we have already seen data link control services, data link layer protocols, and now we will see high level data link control, that is HDLC. So this high level data link control, that is known as HDLC, was developed by ISO. It offers level of flexibility, adaptability, reliability, and efficiency of operation for synchronous data communication need. The general features of HDLC are: HDLC is a bit-oriented data link control protocol supporting point-to-point and point-to-multipoint communication. It also supports two-way simultaneous communication over full duplex circuit, and it also supports two-way alternate communication over full duplex circuit. It supports synchronous and asynchronous communication too, and communication between equal stations and between host and remote stations. Full data transparency is there in HDLC. The ISO standard for HDLC are ISO 3309, ISO 4335, ISO 6159, and ISO 6256. Now we will discuss about transfer modes. So the stations are generally disconnected. The primary station send mode setting command frame to activate them and to bring them under a certain data transfer mode. So basically HDLC provide two common transfer mode that can be used in different configuration. The first one is NRM, that is normal response mode. So in normal response mode, stations activate into normal response mode. The second one is ABM, that is asynchronous balance mode. In this, stations activate into asynchronous response or asynchronous balance mode. Apart from these two modes, one more mode exists, that is initialization mode. So operational parameters are exchanged in this mode. It involves when either primary station finds abnormal functioning of a secondary station, or a station itself can request one if unable to function properly. So now we will discuss about modes. So before discussing about modes, we will discuss type of stations. So three type of stations are defined. One is primary, another one is secondary, and the third one is combined station. So in this figure, you are seeing primary and secondary stations. So primary station has the responsibility of data link management, basically activating, maintaining, disconnecting the data link. The secondary station operate under the control of a primary station, and the primary station send command known as frames to the secondary station under it. The secondary station then can send frame called response. A combined station can act both as a primary and secondary station. So communication can be between two logical equal status computers also, in which case they are designated as combined station and can receive both command and response frames. So here you can see in this figure that point to point communication mode is there. So basically primary and secondary stations are there. So primary station is sending some command and the secondary station is responding it. This is the case of multi-point where primary station is there and some secondary stations are there. So in this case, primary station will send some command and all the secondary station will respond to it. In asynchronous balance mode, both the stations are combined stations. So they can either send command or response. So in this figure, you can see that those combined stations, they can send command or response depending upon the situation. Now we'll see framing. So to provide flexibility necessary to support all the options possible in the mode and configuration just described, SDLC defined three types of frame. The first one is information frame. In short, we are calling it as iframe. This iframe is information frame or information transfer frame. The iframe is used for transporting user data, also carries acknowledgement of the received frame. The first bit is 0, which determines the frame as iframe. So you need to remember this thing that the first bit is 0 in iframe and the next 3 bit are sequence number of the frame. The second frame type is supervisory frame or S frame. The S frame is used to carry only acknowledgements and request for retransmission and does not have a data field. The first 2 bit of control field with values of 1, 0 determines the frame as S frame. The third type of frame is unnumbered frame, that is U frame. The U frame is used for link establishment, termination, mode setting, and other control functions. These do not have any sequence number and data field. The first 2 bits of control field with value of 1, 1 determines the frame as U frame. So this is the frame diagram for iframe. This is the frame diagram for S frame and this is the frame diagram for U frame. So you are seeing that the first and last entity is flag. So flag is a unique 8-bit word pattern that is 0, then 6, 1, then again 0, which identifies the start and the end of frame. After flag, the next thing is address. So address contains the address of secondary station, whether frame is transmitted by primary or secondary. In command, a station gives the address of the destination and in response it gives its own address. The address field consists of 8 bit and because it is consisting of 8 bit it gives a capability of 256 different addresses. After this address, the next thing is control. This control field carries the sequence number of the frame, acknowledgement, and request for retransmission and other control commands and response. This control field is also of 8 bits. After this control, in iframe you can see that information field is there. So information field contains the user data and is completely transparent. The length can be variable. And before the last flag, you are seeing FCS. That FCS is basically frame check sequence. So frame check sequence is a 16-bit CRC code for detecting of errors in the address or control or information field. So now we will see control field format for the different frame type. So already discussed that in iframe the first bit is 0, so which you can see in the first figure. In S frame we already discussed that the first 2 bit of control field with the value of 1 and 0, so you can see 1 and 0 is fixed there. For U frame the first 2 bit of control field are with the value of 1 1, so that is there in third figure. Now we will see one example of connection and deconnection. So in this figure, we will see U frame can be used for connection establishment and connection release. So we are taking 2 nodes into consideration and we are dealing everything with respect to time. So the first step will be node A ask for a connection with a set of asynchronous balance mode frame. So it asks for a connection. The second thing will happen that node B gives a positive response with an unnumbered acknowledgement frame. Now, after these two exchanges, data can be transferred between the 2 nodes. After data transfer, node A sends a disconnect frame to release the connection. It is confirmed by node B responding with a unnumbered acknowledgement. So in this way, U frame can be used for connection establishment and connection release. Now we will see one example which shows two exchange using piggybacking. So we will take one case. In this case, the information frame is sent from node A to node B, that is frame 0. Then information frame 1 is sent. Since iframe is used for transporting of data and acknowledgement, so basically acknowledgement of frame 0 and frame 1 is received. Then frame 2 is also received. Then a S frame act as an acknowledgement is sent from node A to node B. So this is the case where no error has occurred. Let's take another case. In the second case, where an error has occurred and some frame are discarded. So first, node B is sending one frame, that is frame 0, to node A. Now node B is sending one frame, those frames are I frame basically, and that frame is lost somewhere, that is frame 1 is lost somewhere. Then node B started sending frame 2. So because node A haven't received the frame number 1, it is discarding the frame number 2 also. And it is sending a supervisory frame, that is S frame, to request for retransmission of frame number 1. After requesting, the node B is sending the frame number 1 and then it again sends the frame number 2. Then again supervisory frame S frame will send acknowledgement from node A to node B. So in this way, if error will cause due to loss of packet, it will encounter in this way. So this is all about high level data link control, that is HDLC. Under the heading of data link control, after discussing data link control services and data link layer protocols and high level data link control, that is HDLC, now we will discuss about point to point protocol. One of the most common protocols for point-to-point access is the point-to-point protocol. Today, millions of internet users who need to connect their home computers to a server of internet service provider use PPP. To control and manage the transfer of data, there is a need for a point-to-point protocol at data link layer. PPP is by far the most common. So PPP is a data link layer protocol mostly used in wide area network which commonly run over internet link. It is widely used in broadcast communication having heavy loads and high speed. It is used to transmit multi-protocol data between two directly connected computers, that is point to point. That's why we are saying this one as a point to point protocol. So the designers of PPP have included several services to make it suitable for point-to-point protocol, but have ignored some traditional services to make it simple. PPP uses a character-oriented or a byte-oriented frame. This figure shows the format of a PPP frame. So it is just like HDLC. So the first one is flag, then address, then control, then protocol is there, then payload of variable size depending upon what packet you are receiving from network layer, and then FCS, then flag will be there. So you already know that flag is of 8 bit. The bit sequence is with 0, 0, then 6, 1, then 0. This address, by default, we are keeping it as a 8, 1. Okay, this is also an 8 bit. This control is 6, 0, then 2, 1. Then protocol is there, then payload is there of variable length. FCS is of 4 byte or 2 bytes. Flag, again it repeats. This flag will show the starting of frame and ending of frame. Now we will discuss about transition phases. So transition phase will start from the middle section, that is start, and first thing it will detect carrier, and if it is not detecting carrier, the carrier detection will fail. After detection of carrier, if the options are agreed by both the sided, then the authentication will take place. If authentication will fail, so the carrier will be dropped and again the whole process will repeat. If the authentication is successful, then it will go to network layer configuration and data transfer state. Then after completion of data transfer and after termination, the whole process will start again. And these are the transition phases in PPP. So although PPP is a link layer protocol, it uses another set of protocols to establish the link, authenticate the parities involved, and carry the network layer data. So basically, three sets of protocols are defined to make PPP powerful. So the first protocol is link control protocol. In short, we are calling it as LCP. Second protocol is authentication protocol or AP. The third one is network control protocol, that is NCP. So now come to multiplexing in PPP. So here you can see that from network layer, from this network layer, you are getting some data in data link layer. So here at payload, basically your data is there, and with data, various other protocols are there to make this PPP more powerful. Some network control protocol, that is NCP, are there. Some authentication protocols are there, and some link control protocols are there. So now we will discuss about link control protocol. So basically, your frame will start from a flag, then address, then control, then protocol, then payload is there. After payload, FCS and flag will be there. So in LPC, that is link control protocol, the first thing is code, then ID, then length. Then your information is there, which is of variable size. So this code, in the previous slide, this code is basically either can be 0x01. This is for configure request. 02 is for configure acknowledgement. 03 is for configure NAT. 04 is for configure reject. 05 is for terminate request. 06 is for terminate acknowledgement. 07 is for code reject. 08 for protocol reject. 09 for echo request. 0A for echo reply. 0B for discard request. So these are the codes in LCP packets, that is link control packets. So common options, so maximum receive unit, that is payload field size, can be 1500. Authentication protocol, the default size is none and no authentication protocol can be there. And protocol field compression, basically it is off, and address and control field compression, it is also off in LCP. Now come to packet encapsulated in PPP frame. So the first thing will be one user will be there and one system will be there. If this user and this system want to do password authentication, that's what we are dealing, password authentication protocol. So the first thing is user will send an authenticate request, and this system will reply with either authenticate acknowledgement or authenticate NEC. So you already know the frame payload is looking like this. So the first thing is code. So according to this, the code will be there for authentication request. The code will change for authenticate acknowledgement, and this code will change for authenticate NEC. So this is for password authentication packet or password authentication protocol packets. Now we will see challenge handshake authentication protocol, that is CHAP. So how it is encapsulated in triple P frame. So in challenge handshake authentication protocol, basically user will be there and system will be there. So system will send some challenge signal, user will respond it, and system will send either it is success or failure. So for challenge, your payload will look like this. Code will be there, ID will be there, length will be there, challenge length will be there, then challenge value will be there, and variable name will be there. Response will be in the same manner, and for success or failure, either it can send success or it can send failure. So now we will see Internet Protocol Control Protocol. So this Internet Protocol Control Protocol, or otherwise IP Control Protocol, or otherwise IPCP, is responsible for configuring, enabling, and disabling the IP protocol module on both end of point-to-point link. So basically, the structure will look like this. The IPCP packet in the frame payload will look like this. The code will be there, ID will be there, length will be there, and IPCP information will be there. Now we will see code values for IPCP packet. So code value will be 1 to configure request. The code will be value will be 2 for configure acknowledgement, 3 for configure NAC, 4 for configure reject, 5 for terminate request, 6 for terminate acknowledgement, and 7 for code reject. The IP diagram encapsulated in triple P mode will look like this. So IP packet will have some header and user data under this payload. Now we will see multi-link PPP. So logical PPP will be there, and in that payload, basically it divides for with the help of protocol field for different channels. So this payload is for channel 1 and this payload is for channel 2. Now we will see one example to go through the phase followed by the network layer packet as it is transmitted through a PPP connection. So this figure shows the steps. For simplicity, we assume unidirectional movement of data from user side to system side. And we will take that one as sending an email through an ISP. So the first thing user will do, user will send a configure request. The system will send and configure acknowledgement, and then after authentication process will start. So it will send an authentication request, the system will send an authentication acknowledgement, then again configure request will be there and configure acknowledgement will be there, and after that whole data transfer will be there, and then at last termination request will be there. So termination request and termination acknowledgement will be there. So in this way your point-to-point protocol will work, and that's it for point-to-point protocol or triple P.